This is an introduction to partial derivatives. And before we start talking about partial derivatives, let's recall what we know about regular derivatives. So these go with functions of one variable. For example, f of x is equal to 6x to the fourth minus x squared. And f prime of x, the first derivative, would be 24x to the third minus 2x. But what does f prime of x mean? It means the derivative of the function f with respect to x. So the derivative of the function f with respect to the variable x. So now if we look at a function of two variables, f of xy equal to 10x squared minus 5xy minus 2y to the third. This is a function of two variables. It has two inputs, x and y. So there's not really a way to calculate this f prime of x. Instead, we're going to calculate two derivatives, and we're going to calculate what's called partial derivatives. Or derivatives with respect to a particular variable. So the derivative of f of xy with respect to x is going to be denoted f sub x of xy. And the way that we're going to calculate this is we're going to treat y as a constant. We're going to treat y as a constant, we're going to treat x as our variable in this function. So just to show that, I'm going to rewrite our function, and instead of y, I'm going to put c for constant. So f of x and some constant would be 10x squared minus 5, replacing y with constant, times x minus 2 times some constant cubed. And recall that when we take the derivative of a constant, we get 0 if there are no variables with that constant. So now the derivative with respect to x of this function of x and a constant is going to be 20x minus derivative of x is 1, so we just get 5 times a constant, and then minus 2c cubed is a constant number, so we just get 0 there. And I'm going to replace the constant with y again. So f sub x of xy would be 20x minus 5y, where we found that just by treating our variable y as a constant. Okay, so that's our derivative of f of xy with respect to x. So for this function, there will be a second derivative, a second partial derivative, which is going to be the derivative of f of xy with respect to y. And we're going to denote it f sub y of xy. And to calculate this, we're going to take a derivative, but we're going to this time treat x as a constant. So if we're I'm going to rewrite the function with a constant, so fcy would be 10 times some constant squared, so that whole term is a constant, minus 5 times the constant times y, minus 2y cubed. So when we take the derivative, this first constant term, the derivative is 0, minus derivative of y is 1, and then we have this constant in front, so minus 5c, and then minus 6y squared. So that time we treated x as a constant, we treated y as the variable. So putting x back in here, we get derivative with respect to y of f of xy is equal to negative 5x minus 6y squared.